I mean, some people, especially in this town, there's a lot of ambition, and it's a political town, it's a lobbying town. A lot of people come here, young people come here, to kind of climb the ladder in the political world. And there's just a lot of, I know people who have crazy hours, especially when they're younger.
Most of the days I work weekends, and I'm off on Mondays and Tuesdays, and I'm pretty certain that caused kind of the beginning of what was already a rift that was coming in my last relationship, because we didn't have really any quality time to spend together except in the evenings when he was exhausted and I'm a night owl, so I'm ready to go when he's asleep, and there's really no interaction time. And I think making sure that you can make time that's not just before you go to bed or just when you're on the run, like an actual afternoon spent with each other, or I mean even in the evenings you can make time. I think it's crucial. But what I also wanted to say was, I think in this city there's a lot of people who are doing jobs that they don't really like, or they don't even know if they don't like them because they think they're supposed to, or that's a corporate ladder they're supposed to go up.
Well, how does the pressure on all of us to live up to what the model of putting in 40+ hours a week, is that paradigm something we have to keep playing to? Or how do we escape that paradigm?
Well, I mean, that's the main focus of my work, is helping people figure out what it is they really want to be doing and doing that. And that relates back to values and what do you value. And I want to stay away from blaming the individual, and we're not doing that entirely because we are talking about this DC metropolitan culture, but it's the entire United States culture. It's a culture of consumerism and materialism and all of that more. And so we're working a lot, we might be earning a lot, some people have a lot of things, but the quality of life is suffering. And I don't think that's just the individual's values, I think that's societal values. And we all need to stop and take a look at that, and what do we really value?
Well, they have longer vacations in Europe, and yet
right.
and yet there's this knee-jerk reaction in America that anything European is
the
somehow not vigorous.
Yeah, but the Europeans, I'm generalizing, but they tend to enjoy their lives more, and also in other parts of the world. My mother's from Jamaica, and in the Caribbean, people come home for lunch and spend some time with their families, and they go over to each other's houses in the evenings for drinks and dinner.
Yeah, we had 2-hour lunches when I used to live in France. We had 2-hour lunches when we were in school, and then an hour siesta. 1 hour lunch, 1 hour siesta, then go back to school.
Right, and then in the evening, when you get together with your girlfriend or boyfriend, you're not going to be so exhausted because you haven't been locked down.
Well, that's really important. Now, the business of stress and exhaustion completely can affect a relationship, can it? I mean,
my God, yes.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Especially your sex life.
For instance, the whole nine.
I mean, that's
the whole
what it's all
nine,
about.
right? So basically, what we're saying here today is that there are choices that we have to make if we want to have a relationship that's healthy. We have to start prioritizing, but I do think that it can be a challenge. Because I can tell you that it's very difficult. I've tried to apply for jobs and inquire whether I can work a 32-hour work week instead of a 40-hour work week, or flex time. Not necessarily. It's very difficult. There is this, and I don't know if it's because of the structure of human resource departments and their insurance, and they need you to work, they need to log you in for a certain number of hours to cover some kind of pooled expenses. But I don't know what it is, but it can be very limiting.
Well, the problem is also when people are overworked, they tend to, the stress and everything tends to make them sick. And if you get sick, then you're a lot more irritable and a lot harder to be around, and you need taken care of. And I know friends that are just so stressed out that they're chronically sick all the time, and they really don't have anything to give back to another person when you're in that state.
Well, we've talked about the book by Carolyn Myss, The Anatomy of the Spirit, which I don't know if everybody here is familiar with, but it's really about aligning your spiritual state, your mental and emotional state with your physical well-being, and that you have to take care of the insides in order for the outsides to operate well, and so yeah, that definitely relates. So Patrick, so you right now, how's your schedule? How is your schedule working for you and the people that?
It's unbelievably busy.
Yeah.
But I have the ability to take a day off when I need to, because like Kelly just mentioned.
That's okay.
I'm just not as good when I'm stressed out. I'm not as good. I'm not worth as much in starting a relationship, and I'm not worth as much in the workplace. I'm not you know, maximizing my potential there.
So it kind of
So-
has a negative effect both ways, in both areas of your life.
Yeah.
Both of you have worked in organizational consulting. So are you noticing a trend with your clients that people are seeking more work-life balance or getting more and more adamant about it? Is that, I mean, are people starting to stand up and fight for this?
Oh, yeah.
Well, the whole
No, go ahead, Don.
the whole notion of work-life balance really started in the 80s, and it was just lip service till recently, till maybe the last half a dozen or so years, in my experience. And what organizations are not changing, but people are making different choices. Women that were very high-powered senior executives are in their 40s are going, I'm not doing this anymore. I've missed 20 years of my life, and they leave. And they've got the financial resources to do that. Is that consistent with what you're saying?
Yes, and it also reminds me of a great book by Marcus Buckingham, and it's about what makes women happy and successful. And one of the problems in our society why we have so much stress is that we have more choices than we've ever had. And that's, you know, why a lot women who before weren't able to go out there and reach those levels, they've had those choices, and now a lot of women are saying, great, I have all these choices, but I don't choose this one anymore.
Isn't it interesting how the concept of many choices, many different flavors, 31 flavors.
Too much.
That's a selling
Too
point.
much.
That's an automatic selling point in this culture when in fact fewer and better choices might be sort of easier for many of us to manage.
Well, yeah, I think choice is, it's a double-edged sword. There's opportunity on one end, and then there's that possibility of getting lost in the shuffle, you know, and that's sort of alluding to what you shared about commercial and materialism in our country. It's sort of a whirlwind on one end, but, you know, if you find, if you find a way to get centered yourself, there's more opportunity.
So basically, I mean, the consensus I'm getting from the panel, and this is kind of how I feel, is that on one hand, we need to find out what works for us in life. That we're doing it in America largely against a backdrop of pressures that are misaligned with that goal. At Red Zone Politics, we want you to enjoy your politics, enjoy your sports, and enjoy your life. And I just want to thank my panel so much today. If anybody has any parting thoughts. Are we good?
I just want to offer one coaching line, which
Sure.
is, when I say yes to this, what am I saying no to?
Very important point. It's all about priorities and making choices. So we want to thank our audience. We want to thank our wonderful panel today for showing men and women alike that relationships don't have to be scary. They don't have to be rocket science. If we take care on working with what works for us, then we can actually perhaps be a useful partner and have some fun with somebody else. We want to thank you so much for joining Red Zone Politics, and we will see you for the next show.